Hi, my name is Jennifer, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to solve quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. So grab a pencil and some paper and work through these examples with me. The first thing you need to write down is the quadratic formula, which you can see over here at the top of your screen. It's minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all of that divided by 2a. This seems like a lot of numbers and a lot of letters, but I'll walk you through it. Let's take a look at this first example. X squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. Now, when you're asked to use the quadratic formula, it's usually because it's the last result. You can't factor it, you can't use the square root property, and so you're going to have to use the quadratic formula. So let's take a look at this. When a quadratic equation is in standard form, it's in descending order, and it's set equal to 0. When it's in that format, the coefficients of the terms correspond to letters. The x squared term corresponds to the letter A, the coefficient. The coefficient of the x term is letter B, and the constant is letter C. So for this problem, RA equals 1, B equals -5, and C equals +6. Next, we're going to take our quadratic formula, we're going to take our values of A, B, and C, and we're going to substitute them directly into the formula. First, notice it's a minus b. Our b is already a -5, so a minus -5 plus or minus the square root b squared, we're going to put a set of parentheses around -5 squared, minus 4, let's put some more parentheses around a, which is 1, and c, which is 6. And all of that is under the square root radical. Then we're going to take that entire expression and we're going to divide it by 2 times a, which is 2 times 1. Now, it looks like a lot, but we're going to go through here and simplify this using orders of operation. First thing that we can do is we can take the minus -5, and that turns into a +5. The plus or minus stays the same. Underneath the radical, we have -5 times -5, which is 25. And then we have -4 times 1, which is -4, times 6, which is -24. All of that over 2 times 1, which is 2. Next, we can go ahead and do this subtraction problem underneath the radical sign. Be 5 plus or minus 25 minus 24 is 1 over 2. We're almost finished. The square root of 1 is 1, so we have 5 plus or minus 1 over 2. Now we need to pull out our 2 answers from this one fraction. We're going to have 5 plus 1 divided by 2, and we'll have 5 minus 1 divided by 2. So down here, 5 plus 1 divided by 2 would be 6 over 2, which is 3. And 5 minus 1 over 2, 5 minus 1 is 4, divided by 2 is 2. So for this problem, we get down to our final answer, which x equals 3 and it equals 2. Okay, let's try one more example using the quadratic formula. Let's look at the example, negative x squared plus 6x equals 7. The first thing we need to do is we need to identify our a, b, and c. But before we do, we need to make sure our quadratic equation is in standard form. Notice that this equals 7 instead of 0. So before we can assign our a, b, and c, we need to bring the 7 back over to the left side. So it will look something like this. Negative x squared plus 6x minus 7 equals 0. Now that it's in standard form, we can assign our a, b, and c letters. The coefficient to the x squared term is a. The coefficient to the x term is b. And the constant, negative 7, is c. So for this problem, a equals negative 1, b equals positive 6, and c is negative 7. All right, now we're ready to plug these numbers into the quadratic formula. So here goes. The first thing we'll do is we'll do minus b, which our b is a 6, plus or minus our square root symbol, b squared, so that's 6 squared, minus 4 times a times c. Our a is negative 1, so we'll put parentheses around that, and we'll put parentheses around c, which is our negative 7. We'll take all of that and divide it by 2 times a, which our a is negative 1. Okay, so let's go through this and clean it up a little bit. Right here, we can drop the parentheses around 6, and we'll just call this a minus 6, plus or minus. Inside of our radical, we have 6 squared, which is 36. Over here, let's be careful on this multiplication. If we cover up our 6 squared, we have really negative 4 times negative 1 times negative 7. So negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4. Positive 4 times negative 7 is negative 28. Next, all of that will be divided by 2 times negative 1, which is negative 2. Okay, let's go ahead and simplify the numbers underneath the radical sign. So right now we still have our minus 6 plus or minus the square root of 36 minus 28 is 8 over negative 2. From here, we're going to continue to simplify it until we get down to our final answer. So a few things I want to point out. The first thing is I want you to notice that there's 2 negative signs. This negative 6 and a negative 2. So this value of a negative and this one, when you divide a negative something, a negative number, times another negative number, your answer is a positive. So we can continue with this problem, and we can go ahead and take those two negatives away. So down on this next line, I'll have 6 plus or minus radical 8 over 2. The next thing we need to look at is the number underneath the radical. If we can simplify it, and we can. Inside of 8, it's 4 times 2. 4 is a perfect square, so another way to write the square root of 8 is 2 radical 2 over 2. Next. Sometimes this is hard to see, but we have the whole number 6 and we have the whole number 2 in our numerator. 6 and the whole number 2 have a common term of a 2. So to simplify this answer further, we'll bring that common term 2 to the front, and that will leave us with 6 divided by 2 is 3, our plus or minus symbol, and 2, this whole number 2, when we factor out a 2, we're left with 1, which we don't have to write, so we can just write radical 2. All of that is still over 2. Okay, we're almost done. Our very last step, now that we have factored out a 2 from the top, it is now free to be canceled with the 2 on the bottom. So this 2 that we factored out can cancel with the 2 on the bottom. That leaves us with our final answer of 3 plus or minus the square root of 2. So if you have any questions about working through the quadratic formula, please contact your professor or stop by the Math Tutoring Lab or watch this video again.